Okay, a picture perfect spring morning above the water. Underneath, when in the water, unfortunately it's still quite cold. Water temperature is looking at about the 13.5 as I got here this morning, and it's about 14 at the moment, and it's still a little bit cool considering we're well into springtime. Hopefully we get a bit of sun hitting the water and it really heating up today, but again I feel that this is going to be a slow start. Hopefully we can navigate the edges and fish the treetops and just effectively cast hard bodies. So in this case we're talking about a Rapala Shad Rapala 75, only goes down a couple meters, and I believe the fish are still going to be hunkered up, tied up against the bank, and we're just pretty much going to be blind casting and working our way through and finding those fish that are sitting tight against the structure. Because quite often, even if you have that live technology, you won't be seeing those fish that are super tight in against the treetops. So it's a lot more effective, particularly when it's cold, just to go out there and just start casting and effectively traversing all the nooks and crannies of the bank and looking for those fish, because it's going to be reactive bites primarily. So you only need to really put one cast in one spot. So doing that and just effectively casting and working is going to give you higher percentage chance of capturing the fish, particularly when they're in this state. Let's see if my theory comes to fruition and start casting the hard bodies around and covering a lot of water. The aim for today is just fishing the edge primarily with the hard bodies and getting a nice big golden perch or 2 or 3 or 10. Timber, yep, like that. Jesus. So there was something there, a bang, on cue, and it's a big yellow too. It is a very nice yellow too, this one. Oh, it's around the stick, I can feel it. Oh no, yep, it's around the stick. Oh, this is a thumper, this is almost a 60, I reckon. Oh, look at that. Oh yeah, that's big yellow. Just moved into a bay. Got a little bit windy out there, plus I just had a feeling I needed to come into the real shallows. I just caught a fish off the treetops, but I still think that these bays will be slightly warmer, and just had a feeling to come in here. So same principle, just fishing around the trees and treetops when I find them. Like just behind me here we've got some treetops, so it's worth just having a flip up against that, up and down, so it goes from deep to shallow. There might be fish just holding off there, you never know, in the big city or the big ocean or big lake or whatever. But same principle, just working that bib lure alongside of the structure the fish might be sitting on. So whether that's super shallow, this lure only dives down to 2 meters anyway, so 2 meters is going to be 2 meters regardless of where you're casting. So let's just try and get a pattern happening and getting more than one fish on one lure, because catching a fish could be considered just not luck, but not a pattern. Choose a pattern. So hopefully we can start a pattern and catch multiple fish. So now got some trees up through here, just casting up on the edge, casting and moving, canvassing an area as, I guess, as quickly as your lures allow you to fish, but you just want to be casting and moving and just really getting as many areas, or get your lure past as many areas as possible, because that means that you're going to have more opportunity of getting those goldens that are just warming themselves up in the shallows or the treetops or whatever it might be. More casts equal more fish, so simple equation there. Alright, let's get it happening. Well, that's a cold chill. The wind is a little bit nipple chilly. bank that doesn't seem to have a lot of trees on it, but a little bit of rock just scattered through here, and it's a consistent angle. So now I'm just looking at the topography, and if I was a fish and I want to warm up, I want to be sitting on a hard compacted bank that doesn't vary too much in depth, so it retains that heat. So hopefully this is where some fish are. There we go, there's a little bit of stickage up there, so hopefully that will equal fish. Bit of rockery, holding the heat. Let's get it happening. Hope we can come across a patch of fish that are just nestled up in here. That's a stick. Breeze is coming up a bit. Back it off a bit. Just want to fish this little corner here. Just put a few casts a little bit deeper, or further off the bank, and then one right up against the bank. Okay, now just put one right up as far as I can go. There we go, that's some new territory for this lure to pass through and by. A bit of structure. Incorporate some pauses. Pause it. Never know if the fish is following it. Oh, yep, there's a fish right there. How good's that? That working that edge has produced a golden, definitely golden. That's awesome. Hopefully it's a good one. It feels like it's got a bit of weight to it. Oh, it's hooked in the side of the head, that's why. There we go. Well, now we've got a pattern officially, so just same principle, just working that crankbait, this time up against the edge, but the lure's still sitting in that same range, that 1 to 2 meter mark that it's swimming, and just having to think about the situation, and had that feeling to pop in a bay, and obviously that heat is going to radiate in that bay just a wee bit more than the open water. It's not blaring hot, but that change in temperature has been the key, or I think anyway. But just be open to literally fishing the open and coming in and fishing the sheltered, because now we've got 2 fish in a fairly small space of time, and hopefully some more before the end, because there's not long left. Okay, so now we're out in the open again, and this is just fishing a point. Same scenario of just fishing the first couple meters of the water column. So we've got one at the top of the trees on a flat bank. We went in and got one in a bay in the shallows, and now we're going to try and get one on a point. fishing the top of the trees, in the gaps, and trying to entice the fish out from the likely 1 to 2 meters that they might be sitting in, or we know that fish are sitting in that depth. Again, we're just searching, we're blindly casting, and we're letting the lure do the work, getting down there, and then twitching and slow rolling. And fish either side of a snag. And then work the point from in to out will be the situation for us now, with the way the wind's coming in. So I might just spot lock here for a moment. It gives me a little bit more flexibility to have a bit more accuracy and focus on where I'm going to be putting my next cast, because the wind is just causing me a lot of mischief. So let's just cut that moving boat out of the equation and then fan our cast out. Alright, we got one right up the edge there. Get it down there. Switch. Pause. Slow retrieve and hope that we get one right on cue. Right on cue. This one's only little, but it's a little yellowbelly, but it's still a yellowbelly. Alright. So as I said, we got one in open water on a straight bank. Top of the trees, went into a bay, got one in the shallows up against the bank, and now came straight out to a point, and bang, just line casting up the edge in that 1 to 2 meter range, and now we've got another golden. So it's about moving, putting as many casts, different spots, and then finding those fish. Absolutely wrapped at the third fish. This one's still wrapped up in the net, but you can see that it's a nice little golden, the smallest of the lot so far. What a good way to finish. The wind's picking up, the day's ending. We ended up with 3 for the afternoon on the Rapala Shad Wrap Elite 75. Just all about working out what the fish wanted to eat. It was early on in springtime in terms of water temperature. It's actually the second month of spring, but it's starting to spring up for some action. So finding the lure, finding the technique, and then going from open water among the treetops to straight up into a bay in the shallows, getting another one, and then coming out on this point, and pretty much straight away just line casting up in the edge, bang, another one. So find the pattern, take advantage, and hopefully you get onto a few fish, and hopefully it's all up from here for everybody in towards the back end of spring into summer for the cod. Let's get it on.